views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Welcome to Lucid Planet Radio with Dr. Kelly Neff. This hit show will illuminate your senses and empower you beyond your daily stressors and hardships. Renowned psychologist and author Dr. Kelly will captivate you with far-reaching topics and amazing guests as you wake to the greatest version of yourself. Learn to tap into your intuitions, think critically about our world, heal emotional and psychological wounds, and follow your passions to live your dreams. Each week, you'll learn how to navigate the global shift of consciousness and explore the deeper knowledge within. Welcome home. Now here's your host, Dr. Kelly Neff.
Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Kelly Neff, and you are listening to Lucid Planet Radio on Transformation Talk Radio, Starcom Radio Network, CRN Digital Talk, and more. Stay with us for the next hour and let us help you experience some really positive inspiration, healing, creativity, and deep thoughts. Every week, we have some of the most gifted scientists, healers, speakers, and authors helping you to become the greatest version of yourself. And you can find out more at thelucidplanet.com and stream all of our podcasts for free on lucid-planet-radio.com, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, SoundCloud, etc. Just search for Lucid Planet Radio. And also, please connect with me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just look for The Lucid Planet with Dr. Kelly. You can also visit the website, thelucidplanet.com, to find out how to nominate yourself or someone else for the show and find out how to become an advertising partner to our extensive audience across over 250 AM, FM digital cable stations reaching over 11 million homes in the U.S. Woo! Today, we are going to talk about humanity's future, and we're going to explore the idea that the technological singularity is either here or very near. For those of you who are maybe unfamiliar with the term, this is just the hypothesis that the invention of artificial superintelligence will abruptly trigger a runaway technological growth, which is going to result in unfathomable changes to human civilization. Now, maybe we don't know exactly what those changes look like. Will we be able to thrive in the face of all the change on the planet, or will we as humans go down in flames like the Terminator? But either way, it really does seem that we are poised for a momentous leap in consciousness. And our technology is allowing us a new depth and breadth with every invention. But at the same time, we're still very small and we still have a very minuscule place in the cosmos. And my guest and I today are going to talk about how language can be very minimizing, but how technology can reveal paradigms and potentially the source code of all creation. His words, not mine. My guest today is visionary thinker, artist, and filmmaker Mitch Schultz. He is returning to the show after 2 years. I can't believe it's been that long, to talk with me about cognitive psychology, philosophy, art, and technology. He, having conducted his academic work at UT Austin and NYU, Mitch then went on to direct the cult classic film DMT, The Spirit Molecule, as well as creating the open source media library and emergent story world, Mythify. So on that note, let's please welcome Mitch to the show. Hey, Mitch.
Hi, Kelly. Thanks for having me back. Even though I can't believe it's been 2 years already.
Tell me about it. Time just flies. I was just saying earlier, I think you were episode like 6 or 7, and now we're about episode 85. So,
well, keep up the good work. You're obviously doing something right, and thanks for having me back.
Yeah, absolutely. So what have you been up to in the last 2 years since we last talked?
Oh, my goodness. What have I been up to? Well, trying to figure out this thing we call life.
Oh my gosh. How's that working out?
I'm still at it.
Yep.
Still at it full time.
Well, you just let me know when you figure it out.
I will. And vice versa, please. Because if you figure it out, I'd like to know.
I definitely doubt it on my end. So don't worry. Anyway.
I think that's part of the beauty of this thing is that we probably never will in some ways, but the complexity keeps rising and we keep adapting to be able to comprehend that complexity in new ways. But every time we find new complexity, there's a whole nother layer that comes out of that, new questions and new doors open. So, yeah. And as far as what I've been up to the last couple of years, I guess since we spoke last, I understand you just had Aubrey Marcus on about a week ago. And,
I did.
him and I collaborated on a project where we took some colleagues down to Peru and worked with some plant medicines. And we thought, instead of pulling in all the doctors and the ethnopharmacologists, that we would just go down there and kind of bear our own souls and the experiences that we were going through. And so we put out a companion documentaries called Ayahuasca and Wachuma.
Awesome.
So that's what I guess most of my time has been spent doing. Yeah.
How weird that I booked you guys back to back without even knowing that. It's like a magical plant medicine psychic connection or something.
I spoke to him the other day, and he's like, well, I was just on Kelly's show, and I understand you're going to be on next week. And
wow.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of the magic of the universe.
What a sweetheart. Interesting, dude. Well, both of you guys, I mean, really kind of like visionary. I don't even want to say like idealist, but it's like, I feel like there's a common thread of really wanting to push to the absolute limits of like what we can do and how far we can go to understand. Would that be accurate?
As far as we can, yeah. I mean, I don't want to speak for Aubrey. I think for myself, I'm constantly curious. If something pops up and it just strikes my fancy a little bit, I'm like, I want to know more about that. And it typically leads me down a rabbit hole that I'll go on for a while. But there is that constant curiosity. And I think humanity, it's not that we have to fix anything, but we start to see that things could be modified and tweaked to make our experience a little bit better.
Totally. Did your experiences with psychedelic plant medicine, did that kind of help you see kind of like through the facade to a certain extent? Like, did you realize when you were using it, oh, like I can tweak reality and I have a different insight now because of this experience?
Absolutely. And in a lot of ways, and I'm sure you've discussed a lot of this on your shows, where it gets rid of all the filtering mechanisms, and all the story that we tell ourselves in our own mind and about our relationships and the people around us and our work and family and everything in between. It gets you back to kind of a core sense of being, and you start to be able to see those connections and also the threads, that whether it be a trauma or just a way of being that become these repetitive patterns throughout our lives. And you can start to pinpoint those, and in a way you can tweak those. And you can say, well, I really don't like this behavior, and it's a response to, being alone or feeling distant. And what can I do to start modifying that? And understanding that a lot of it's just a story.
I love that. It just reminds me of kind of the idea, like in psychology, like the programming that we have, that we kind of, our brain and our understanding of the world gets conditioned into us when we're young. And we can go through life always in the same pattern because unconsciously we're just playing out that conditioning over and over. And I had Bruce Lipton on the show about a month ago, and he talked a lot about this and how by the age of 7, your personality and all of these things are kind of already conditioned, and it's up to us to break free of that and kind of hack into our minds.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it. And I love doing that. And plant medicines definitely help with that. And they can be a very reliable source for helping break down those stories and that conditioning to kind of back your way out to what you are and who you are ultimately.
So tell me, like, what do you think that the story is something that is comforting to us? The story about who we are versus who we actually are, I guess is what I mean.
Well, and that's a tricky slope or slippery slope in the sense that to me, it's all embedded. So even down to our DNA and the codification that literally makes our physical being, that is not separate from how we experience the world to how we're interpreting the world through our language and through our stories. So it's kind of like, well, you can't really have one without the other, and starting to maybe pinpoint some of those things that tie all that together. Because we're constantly updating evolutionary system. Evolution didn't happen years ago in the history books. It's still going on. And now with, like you were saying earlier, this technology that's developing and being able to look at information in broader and deeper ways, we can start to understand that we have some control on this, and we still have a very minuscule place. At the same time, we're on the edge of something that is really allowing the universe in some ways to wake up to itself in new ways.
I like that. Isn't there like a Ram Dass quote or something that's like, you are the universe waking up to itself or something like that?
Probably so. Ram gets it.
Yeah, seriously. So while we're on the topic, what does it mean to be a futurist? Because we hear that word a lot, right?
Yeah,
what does it mean to you?
Question. For myself, it's really starting to look at the patterns within my own life, but also on a species level. Starting to see what potentials are starting to unfold. And the quote, I'm going to spit his name out, that, the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed yet. So I'm starting to poke around and seeing some of those things, and maybe giving humanity or society a glimpse at that could help, minimize some of the issues that we bring about ourselves before we actually get to some of these places that can be extremely devastating to the species and to other cultures around the world. And if we can start paying attention to that, I think that makes a difference.
I agree. And it's just very interesting because we are seemingly at this like very intense juxtaposition between we're having like some of the greatest advances in technology, and we're being able to, start curing or fighting off diseases, and people are getting smarter and living longer and in some areas. But then on the same time, it's also this like gloom and doom for the planet, seemingly, that, the temperature is going to rise so much, right, in the next 100 years. And then also, radiation from Fukushima, poison in our food. I mean, it's like, I could go on and on, right? So that's the interesting question, is like, how does technology help us overcome some of these issues without creating more issues? And that's not like something you can answer right now. That's my thought. Go for it, though.
Well, and I think those technologies and those developments will always bring about new issues and unforeseen issues that we will have to work out down the road. They'll take care of some of the old stuff, but they will always bring about new issues. Now, how do we start to balance that? I'm probably not the one to fully figure that out. I think we all have to take a stab at that. But I think it's kind of a combination of both. It will take care of and fix some of the issues, and then also bring about a bunch of new ones.
Right. And that's kind of what we're going to spend the rest of the show talking about, too, is what does this look like, all these iterations, and how does it play in with our psychology and our language? So stay tuned. We are going to take a quick break. And here on Lucid Planet Radio with Dr. Kelly, Mitch Schultz and I are going to talk about the human narrative and story and futurism and the singularity and all that good stuff. So kind of like twist your brain around a little bit and put yourself into the future and see what it feels like. So stay with us, and we'll be right back after this short break.
You, yes you, can be the highest version of yourself. Wellness coach and natural beauty expert Dr. Agnes Frenkel is on a mission to help you play the game of your life. Win in vibrancy, health, and beauty. Because you deserve it. Dr. Agnes goes beyond the limits in her personal coaching sessions to revolutionize health and wellness. Now is the time to unleash your true power. For more information, visit dragnesfrankel.com.
Are you ready for a game changer? Sarah Westall is bringing you Business Game Changers Radio. Sarah brings you leading experts, visionaries, and newsmakers who provide the best commentary on big issues and cutting-edge innovations. Sarah's 20 years as a business executive will help you think like an entrepreneur with expertise, energy, and attitude. Tune in to Business Game Changers Mondays at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern on transformationtalkradio.com.
When your body is awakened, your spirit comes alive. Dana Canetto is a transformational guide, embodiment coach, and spiritual mentor assisting women in realigning with their truth and embodying who they are by connecting to the wisdom of their body. Tune in every month on Transformation Talk Radio and the Dr. Pat Show Network for Body Divinity Radio with Dana Canetto. For more information on Dana and her services, visit danacanetto.com. That's DANACANNETO.com.
Tune in to Dynamics of Diversity Radio, scripting the new narrative for immigration with leading experts Kripa Upadhyaya and Steve Tanijo on TransformationTalkRadio.com. This show will remove the noise that often accompanies discussions on this topic and share a new perspective on the dynamics of immigration and diversity, ever reminding us that together we are all at the core of innovation, excellence, and positive change. Visit orbitlawpllc.com for upcoming topics.
Introducing the Lucid Planet, a digital gathering place featuring cutting-edge, high-vibrational content that will empower and inspire you to become the greatest version of yourself. Visit the Lucid Planet today to stimulate your mind, body, and soul as you connect with a global community of like-minded people. The Lucid Planet is edited by renowned psychologist and author Dr. Kelly Neff, who is here to help you cope with anxiety, connect to your higher purpose, uncover your true passions, and live your dreams. Dr. Kelly's fresh, compassionate perspective emphasizes growth, transformation, healing, and thriving. Even in the face of adversity, say goodbye to bad news and low vibrational media for good and become part of the larger collective of people working together to navigate the global shift of consciousness and transform the world from within. Join the planet, the Lucid Planet. Visit thelucidplanet.com. Welcome home.
We are back on Lucid Planet Radio with Dr. Kelly, and my guest today, Mitch Schultz, is chatting with me about the human narrative, language, culture, and the future. And before we continue, though, Mitch, let me just make sure that everybody knows how to contact you to find out more about Mythify and your workshops and your films and all that good stuff.
Sure. We just opened, not an official release, but you guys will, I guess, be the first official release of mdslab.net, which is kind of my personal site for all the work that I've been doing. And then the Mythify site is currently down. Thank you.
I like that.
More to come.
Yeah.
The Mythify site is currently down. We just transferred servers, but it'll be back up and running soon with a brand new look and feel. So stay tuned for that.
Awesome. Yeah. So, and then Mitch, you also have been hosting some workshops like the One series, right? Where you've been having people come together to talk about different ideas.
Yeah, some partners out of New York. We started what they called the One series for a new project. That I can't discuss too much about what they're doing, but there's an amazing project that's unfolding that is taking place in Iceland. And out of that, we started to bring together some visionaries to just discuss from their point of view and from their own work, what is going on here? What does the future look like? And how can humanity start to navigate towards that? So.
Awesome. I think one of the biggest themes is that, like we were saying before the break, there's this juxtaposition of all of this promise and amazing change, but then there's a lot of scary stuff going on too. And there's kind of like fear poking us from every angle, particularly from like kind of the mainstream media point of view. And regardless as to where you land on the political spectrum, kind of both sides are putting a lot of fear-based energy and fear-based programming out there. And I'm sure you would agree that this is like a huge barrier to our ability to kind of like move forward as a species.
Absolutely. It's, they want us to feel afraid. They whoever they are, and I don't even want to try to label that.
They.
But you're right. I think there's the media aspect, the politicians, big business. If they can instill that sense of fear, then they can operate things a little differently, and it also gives them reasons for that
too. Sorry.
It does. Absolutely. Yeah. And so trying to move away from that fear and saying, why should I be afraid of that person or that religion, or, being able to just be open to it and let that play out. I think you'd see in your own life that things will start to open up in a much more beautiful way. And you don't have to operate out of fear, which also can end up leading to a response system and a response that we don't typically, maybe ways that we would not typically act.
Well, yeah, because it does seem like, we fear change and we fear the unknown, and we especially fear uncertainty. I know from psychology, there's an old theory, I think it's called terror management theory, that when you threaten people's well-being, like that they might not live, or they might not have enough money for food, or they might not have a job, they actually will regress towards the mean of their social group.
Absolutely. Part of what I've been looking at with my business partner, Steve McDonald, is the evolution of consciousness. And there was some work that was started back in the 50s by a gentleman named Claire W. Graves. And this work was never published academically prior to his death, but then two of his students wrote a book called Spiral Dynamics. And the book ended up being focused a little more on kind of the corporate approach to management. But there was some bigger things within this body of work where you start to see on a human development scale how we grow through different stages of being. They correlate not only to the individual, but also to the species. So you can see what drives a particular person. You can see what drives a particular culture. And he saw these fractal patterns within that development process.
That is very cool.
Ultimately becomes a predictive model that we can see, hey, we have China and India, the largest portions of the population of the planet, moving into a consumptive phase that the West has been in for, let's say, 100 years. Well, what does that start to do to our planet and global warming or climate change if we're considering now we have over 2 billion people consuming the way that the West has?
Wow.
Opens up a lot. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot to chew on there. And then there's also some things that I think we can start to do to plan accordingly for that. Because we will be chewing up, so to speak, a lot of the resources on this planet.
Right? Even more than they already have. Well, I mean, and like I was just talking with someone about this the other day, if the planet becomes inhospitable to us, then we'll have to adapt and evolve. And maybe that means like merging with machines in some way, or let's say there's too much radiation poisoning or there's too much UV. Well, we'll get some kind of nanotech that goes into our body and fixes the imbalance, right? Like something like that, where maybe we can continue to survive, but either way, things are not going to be the same for much longer.
They are not, and they already are not the same, even from a decade ago. And I think you're onto something there, that this machine / human biological system merging in some ways. I mean, we're getting to the point now with CRISPR technology, for instance, where we can go in and literally edit our genes. That's
crazy,
absolutely fascinating stuff. And when you start talking about, okay, there's a little more radiation in this particular area. Well, how do we start to tweak those gene setups to live with that? Or maybe life goes on that, a lot of people might find this in a sci-fi fearful way, but maybe the machines are the new form of evolution.
Well, yeah, it makes sense because, as much as we are still evolving, it seems like the way that we're evolving is by creating technology and devices that do stuff for us. Right. So
and that's always been the case. Even back from like capturing fire or making, a flint arrow, all of these things come out of us, and these technological developments make our lives easier, or they end up trying to take place of something else. And that's the same thing that we're doing with machines. It's just in a much more complex reality.
Well, yeah, because like a fire is different, but like a flint arrow, like it's not going to end up developing consciousness, right? Whereas like, these AIs and all these beings, like eventually will reach that point where they have, or maybe we won't. I mean, what do you think? Will these AIs and robots and machines, will they reach a level of consciousness similar to what we experience?
I am cautious. First of all, I don't like to even say artificial intelligence. I don't think it's artificial at all. This is another human form of, we've separated ourselves, so to speak, even though we haven't, from the natural world, and we try to dominate it. And we pull these resources, and in a way that does pull us out of being natural beings. And I think the same sort of thing is going on when we start to label our technologies or consciousness as artificial. I don't think it's artificial at all. It's just another iteration and another part of the evolutionary process that's taking place. And so I like to think that is the universe making its way and finding new forms of physicality to experience the world.
Well, and so I was talking earlier about what you said about kind of tech can help us overcome the language barriers to hack into the kind of the source code for all creation.
Yeah, and I know that sounds a little crazy and way out there, but getting back to this idea of AI or machine learning or cognitive machines is starting to see patterns in much broader perspectives, and where we could take 100 years of weather patterns and look at that at a split second and see time and space compressed, to where we can start to make some changes and understand, what, there is change going on. There's very drastic change going on. And a lot of what we're doing is playing a role in that. So what do we need to start doing to pull that back, or to relax some of that intense change, even though I don't know if that's 100% possible, because everything that we do will feed into that.
Yeah. I guess my question is, how do we know that it's not just going to create a new language that is somehow different from something that we can even understand? I guess we're going to have to be the ones to catch up.
Well, yeah, I guess I look at it too in the evolutionary sense. If you do buy into evolution, and we came from single cell organisms, and let's just go to primates before we went into what we know now as human beings, I don't think that our ancestors really had an idea that what we were evolving into. And in some ways, I kind of feel it's the same thing now, that we don't really know what we're evolving into. And the language changes, literally the physicality of how things are being experienced are changing. Things are denser, they're tighter, information is a lot different. In time and space, or much, much different being.
We are. And this is reminding me, have you heard of the term transhumanism or transhuman? Yes. That's kind of what this is making me think about, which is kind of we're becoming more than just human.
And even potentially something else that's not human. That there are different beings on this planet. I think we are evolving into something that we will eventually look back and say, okay, our humanity is no longer human, and we are whatever we describe it as.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see if in our lifetime, this emerges and what it looks like. I'm very, very curious. We're going to take another quick break, but when we come back, Mitch Schultz and I are going to talk more about technology in the future, and really this idea that the singularity is near or maybe here. And we're also going to talk about the media and how kind of culturally popular portrayals of the future and AI and machines, and how they're kind of coloring our way of thinking about these things. So stay tuned for that. We will see you in a short minute.
How would you like increased health and vitality? How would you like to avoid the onset of disease as well as slow the aging process? This is all possible through a simple, safe, and natural process. Every day we are either moving toward wellness or away from wellness.
Hi, I'm Mary Jane Mack. I'd like to be your partner in achieving optimal health. Contact me now at maryjanemack.com or call 425-392-0659. Visit maryjanemack.com.
What is a brilliant culture, and how do we create them? Why are they important? Claudette Rowley has created a breakthrough 5-step process to help you align your culture with your business strategy for exceptional results. Looking for a culture that drives organizational excellence? Listen to Cultural Brilliance Radio, the second and fourth Friday of each month at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern on Transformation Talk Radio. To learn more or work with Claudette, visit culturalbrilliance.com.
Hi, this is Carol Dorian, here to tell you about the new and improved Spiritual Diagnostics, coming to you every Tuesday at 2 p.m. starting April 25th. We will be having new amazing guests. We will have new spiritual topics for the new year. So look out for our new revamped show, Spiritual Diagnostics, Psychic Answers and Spiritual Solutions, April 25th at 2 o'clock.
Brand consultant Jen Morgan is here with Radically Distinct Radio to help you take control of your future and maximize your brand's power to produce results. Whether you're an individual trying to reinvent yourself and launch a new venture, or you're an executive trying to reposition your company to modernize your sales and marketing programs, Jen Morgan and the RAD Method empower you to play to your strengths and show up in the world as your most powerful brand. To learn more, go to jenmorgan.com, that's Jen with 2 N's, Morgan.com, or call 206-972-5366.
Introducing the Lucid Planet, a digital gathering place featuring cutting-edge, high-vibrational content that will empower and inspire you to become the greatest version of yourself. Visit the Lucid Planet today to stimulate your mind, body, and soul as you connect with a global community of like-minded people. The Lucid Planet is edited by renowned psychologist and author Dr. Kelly Neff, who is here to help you cope with anxiety, connect to your higher purpose, uncover your true passions, and live your dreams. Dr. Kelly's fresh, compassionate perspective emphasizes growth, transformation, healing, and thriving. Even in the face of adversity, say goodbye to bad news and low vibrational media for good and become part of the larger collective of people working together to navigate the global shift of consciousness and transform the world from within. Join the planet, the Lucid Planet. Visit thelucidplanet.com. Welcome home.
We're back on Lucid Planet Radio with Dr. Kelly, and I have Mitch Schultz here who's been chatting with me, very interesting, about technology and our future. So Mitch, Ray Kurzweil wrote The Singularity is Near, 2005, I think. And then last week he said that the singularity would be here by 2029. What do you think about that?
First of all, I respect Ray's work. And, one of the first just really gripping books was one of his first ones that I read, The Age of Spiritual Machines. And that changed my thinking in so many ways, where he was really, this was, I think, in the early 90s when he's talking about some of this artificial intelligence or machine learning that was back then. Now, with the singularity, I've switched up a little bit. I don't think that we're going towards a point of merging. I think we're already in the singularity. It's already here. We're part of this natural system. And again, I look at technology as being part of that natural system as well. So it's not that we're going to that place. We're in it, and it's coming out of us. It's an extension of our consciousness.
That is a very interesting point. I mean, like I was just thinking about it. I was born in 82, so I kind of spent half my life without a lot of the technologies, right? And then the other half of my adult life very much immersed with it. And so I can kind of see the before and after feel, right? I'm sure you would agree. But so for people who are growing up now in the world, there really isn't a beginning point. It's just always going to be there.
And it always has been. And exactly. It's, I was thinking about this and having this discussion with a friend the other day about just what you were saying. I was born in the early 70s, and when I got to see the personal computers and video games coming, wow, what an amazing time. And then how quickly that has developed to where we are now. When we're talking about using technology again to recode our genes or to get a bigger sense of what's happening on the planet through this. It's happening very quickly, and it does seem to be speeding up.
I agree that, nothing, particularly technology, it's not inherently good or bad or good or evil. I don't really see things on that scale. Right. But it does raise the question, is it, and you talked about it being part of the natural system, but I can't help but feel like I don't think it's natural to put a computer chip inside of your brain or to upload your consciousness to a computer or even to mess with your DNA or your genes. I wonder if there can be if there ever will be really some kind of line in the sand of this is too far. I know cloning, right? That was a whole thing, and I think that we agree that, no human clones, although, I do wonder if the rich elites do have their own clones there for organ harvesting and stuff, like in that movie, The Island. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the naturalness of all of this?
Well, again, I try to look back and say this stuff, this technology, these new ways of trying to become aware of what it is or make our lives simpler, again, these things are coming from us. They're coming from our own natural development. Even though they look like, oh, it's made out of plastic or silicone, they wouldn't be there without our developmental process and us to put them into place. And again, we're natural beings. And so I can't separate those two. To me, that they are one and the same. Now, we might be getting to a place where this earth becomes a lot more difficult to live in the way that we currently are. And then it becomes an imperative that we do alter our sense of physicality for the survival of the species. And I know that's very scary to a lot of people, and it seems very strange, but that might be what life is doing. What consciousness is doing is trying to prepare itself for that next iteration. And again, you mentioned it too. It's not good or bad. It just is. There's not a whole lot that if we try to start applying labels to it, I think it does a disservice to our own sense of being.
Can I just bring up a non sequitur for a second?
Please,
because we're talking about right.
Sure.
What do you think of all the flat earther stuff?
Oh man. I don't want to touch it. If you've ever flown in a plane or
hologram, it's just a reflection in a hologram. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'll take the hologram part, but then you start thinking about, well, within a hologram, there are two-dimensional planes that actually make up what we look at as three dimensions. And so, maybe in one way we are living on a flat earth.
Right? Maybe.
But not the same way that people are pushing.
It's just crazy. Like, people are really clinging. Like, it seems to, for some reason, in kind of this like spiritual esoteric community, it's become like a huge thing, where, everybody's like, stay woke. Like, you're not woke if you don't know that the earth is flat, y'all. And I felt like it was a troll for the longest time. Like, this can't be real. But, apparently it is. But I guess the reason I bring it up is because in a lot of ways, it's like, I've heard it said, like, we're kind of living in a post-fact era to a certain extent, right? Where people care less and less about the actual science and data and more about opinion and feeling being represented. And I'm really curious to see, like, how this continues to evolve as we become more immersed in our machines, because you would think like you'd be very all about fact if you can literally just go on the internet and Google anything at the tip of your fingers, right? But actually it kind of is pushing us in the opposite direction. Do you have any thoughts on that? What is going on?
Well, I like to, again, look at it from an evolutionary perspective. And whenever major changes in evolutionary systems happen, there's always this almost like a rubber band, and this tension gets pulled and pulled and pulled and pulled and maybe even a step backwards on an evolutionary scale. And then all of a sudden it pops. And I think that we're in one of those times right now where there's all this tension building up, in our political systems, in the environment, our information systems, and all of these things are getting ready to push us into this kind of new state of being or new state of awareness. So
it's growing pains, though, huh?
Exactly. It is. It's growing pains, and it's just new ways of trying to wrap our heads around. But we also have to understand that people are operating from very different perspectives all around the globe. There's not just one reality here. I like to look at it as operating systems. Our paradigms are operating systems, and if you grow up in the Middle East and all you've seen is war and devastation for multiple generations, you're going to respond a particular way. If you grow up in middle America and you've got a roof over your head, you go to college and you have food and all this, you're going to respond a particular way. And so these are different operating systems trying to coexist on the planet at one time. So again, there's not just the one, but 7.5 billion, if you will, trying to merge and figure it all out, which is where the complexity gets really fascinating and opens up a lot of possibilities.
It does. It's a good point. And then on top of it, too, you have all these different operating systems. Maybe we all need a system upgrade to the cloud or whatever.
Defrag the hard drive.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. Like Control-Alt-Delete. Is that a thing?
Right.
And then on top of that, that we have the programming, and we've talked a little bit about kind of like the information systems programming, but there's also this whole entertainment media that is just like totally dedicated to creating these dystopian, futuristic movies about man and machine. And there's so many media portrayals, you know, really they're designed to like entertain and shock us, I think, more than anything. But I mean, think about just like Westworld just came out and everyone was like freaking out about it. All the X-Men movies and all these superhero movies where they have these like abilities, you know, obviously the Terminator stuff. So I guess my question for you, and you're in the media, you're a filmmaker. Have you seen anything like a program perhaps or show or whatever that to you captures maybe an accurate representation of what this kind of singularity looks like?
Oh, goodness. You know, I really enjoyed Westworld, even though that there's a lot of kind of chaotic and crazy aspects to how we could perceptually be experiencing the world and, you know, what is real. That's where it gets really interesting. We're moving in now to virtual reality systems or augmented reality systems with, you know, that are fully immersive environments with machine learning being able to give us coded narratives that are exponential. And where does that what becomes real and what's not real? I think that's where we're starting to challenge ourselves again on what we consider nature or reality.
Yeah, I agree. Weird though, because I don't have any experience. I haven't tried out any of this virtual reality systems. Do you have some experience with them and working on them and stuff?
I do a little bit, yeah. And I'm really interested and really fascinated about starting to tell some stories in the VR world or the augmented reality world. I think as a storyteller, we've been, well, let's just say throughout history, it's stories evolve too. And even our technologies for telling stories evolve. You know, we've had now, let's just take film on a two-dimensional plane. Everything fits nice and neat inside of this one frame. It was able to compress time down and make things happen in kind of large scales, but within, let's say, a 2-hour period. But getting into these new technologies with VR, wow, the three-dimensional space opens up, and how are you telling a story where somebody's looking forward, but there's a whole 360-degree range of possibilities?
Sounds rad.
Yeah, it does, right? Really excited for that. But I think there's also a gamification aspect of that in some way too that will have to drive those narratives. So I'm really just diving into a lot of this myself and got some VR stuff hopefully in the works, and can't wait to dive in more.
Wow, I'm looking forward to seeing that. I've always felt like, you know, it's like it's like the dream world or something, right? Where you're in a dream, but it feels totally real. And then on top of it, we can create these other virtual reality, which is like another layer of the dream world, maybe a little bit more of a waking dream, but still a dream. And then it makes you wonder what other kind of levels of this consciousness we can access as well. You know, and I just kind of keeps fractaling into it. So on that note, we're going to take a break. And when we come back here on Lucid Planet Radio with Dr. Kelly, Mitch Schultz and I are going to wrap up the show talking a little bit more about technology and futurism. And I definitely want to talk about Elon Musk's new business venture and see what Mitch thinks about that. Yeah, so stick with us. We'll be right back.
Chris Stanis is a spiritual leader and healer and teaches a course on how you can transform your life through a meditation and healing system that will manifest your spirit's dreams. She manifested the Women of Wisdom Conference, the Women of Wisdom book, and this radio show. And she can show you how to change your life too. Are you ready? Visit the website and contact her at voicesofwomentoday.com. That's voicesofwomentoday.com.
Tune in to Lucid Planet Radio with Dr. Kelly Neff. This hit show will illuminate your senses and empower you beyond your daily stressors and hardships. Renowned psychologist and author Dr. Kelly will captivate you with far-reaching topics and amazing guests as you wake to the greatest version of yourself. Learn to tap into your intuitions, think critically about our world, heal emotional and psychological wounds, and follow your passions to live your dreams. The Lucid Planet. Welcome home. Visit lucidplanetradio.com for more information.
Every day is another opportunity to bring magic into our world and create the reality we want to live. Intuitive Juliana Solovia and the Lady of Light New Age Boutique are here to help you on your journey. Whether you're looking for a reading, a workshop, or a class of the latest and unique metaphysical products or jewelry, the Lady of Light New Age Boutique has it all. Visit inspirednewage.com to schedule a session or class and feel the energy of the Lady of Light. Sky Siegel co-hosts one of today's most popular psychic shows, Angels and Answers with Artie Hoffman, as she communicates healing messages from the spirit world. These messages can be astounding, enlightening, and life-changing. Born with the God-given talent of inner guidance and the amazing ability to heal, Sky has healed thousands of people. Schedule a reading with Sky now. Call 908-500-1474 and visit skyofangels.com.
Introducing the Lucid Planet, a digital gathering place featuring cutting-edge, high vibrational content that will empower and inspire you to become the greatest version of yourself. Visit the Lucid Planet today to stimulate your mind, body, and soul as you connect with a global community of like-minded people. The Lucid Planet is edited by renowned psychologist and author Dr. Kelly Neff, who is here to help you cope with anxiety, connect to your higher purpose, uncover your true passions, and live your dreams. Dr. Kelly's fresh, compassionate perspective emphasizes growth, transformation, healing, and thriving, even in the face of adversity. Say goodbye to bad news and low vibrational media for good and become part of the larger collective of people working together to navigate the global shift of consciousness and transform the world from within. Join the planet, the Lucid Planet. Visit thelucidplanet.com. Welcome home.
Welcome back to Lucid Planet Radio with Dr. Kelly. I'm here with Mitch Schultz, and we've been chatting about technology and singularity and futurism and more. Before we proceed, I just want to give a shout out to our moms. Hi, moms. I think our moms are listening, right, Mitch? You're saying maybe your
Hi, Mom. Absolutely. I think she's tuned in. Hi, Moms.
Oh, love you, Mom. Just had to give a shout out. When we left off, I was mentioning Elon Musk's new business venture. If you guys haven't heard of this, it's kind of breaking news this week. He has put $1 billion into a company called Neuralink, which is exploring how to physically interface computers with the human brain using some kind of neurolace technology. And so my question for you, Mitch, is would you be down to be a human guinea pig and have a computer chip put in your brain?
Sign me up. I'm all for it. You know, I've been a risk taker most of my life, and I know it seems very strange to a lot of people, but I'm fascinated by what's happening with that world and where we can go. I just went to a body hacking conference in Austin, Texas not long ago, and they had chips that were made, and you could operate your phone with that or walk into a room and turn lights on. And there's a lot of other things that you can do to hack your biology. And it was fascinating to go to. And I think this is just taking it to another level. So to answer your question, I would. Maybe I need to get in touch with Elon.
You should. Dude, you could make a VR movie about it too. It would be like super lit.
I like that idea.
Right? Oh, dude, 10%. That's all I ask. 10%. No.
You got it. Okay.
Okay. Well, and what about obviously other things like colonizing Mars? Do you think that's going to happen? Would you be down to go colonize Mars as well?
I would absolutely do it. If I had the opportunity to get in a rocket and say that I was going to be one of the first humans to travel to Mars, and knowing that I probably would not return, I would do it. I'd want to look back at Earth and God, what a amazing, beautiful experience to have. And if it was in the realm of trying to push our life forward in some ways and being able to move outside of this planet, I think it's necessary, and I think it will happen.
I think it will happen too. I just saw an article today saying that Mars had water, and I guess it got hit. These scientists have done like the first ever study proving or suggesting at least that it got hit by an asteroid that caused all the water to vaporize, I guess.
Huh.
That's what they were saying happening. I just saw Graham Hancock just tweeted that earlier. And that's kind of fascinating to think about. Like, what if Mars was once like Earth, right? And soon Earth won't be habitable. And, even like Stephen Hawking said, right, we have like 1,000 years left, and then we'll have to find a new planet.
I wonder if we have that long.
I know, right? I feel like that maybe is like a pretty conservative estimate. So it just begs the question, like what can we do in our lives to kind of like ensure our thrival, let's say?
Well, and I think it automatically kind of does its thing. For ourselves and on a personal level, on a human level, I think the most important thing we can do is follow our heart. What makes us happy? What gives you joy out of living this amazing thing we call life? And pursue that 100%. And I think if you do that, everything kind of falls into place for you. So as a human being, I would say, again, follow your heart, do what drives you and gives you joy, and the systems and the universe will figure itself out. I think life and or consciousness itself will continue. It will go on, and it'll figure out a way to keep moving forward.
Well, yeah, I completely agree. And, I had Aubrey Marcus last week, and he talked a lot about how the things that you resist, it's actually where you need to go. That right. When there's something that scares you, you got to like jump through the resistance, and I love that idea.
Step into the fear.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it's there for that emotion is there for a reason. And on the topic of living on and consciousness living on, one of the others, so we talked about computer chip in your brain was yes, colonizing Mars was yes. And then what about like in transcendence? I've literally heard, I had Jason Silva on a year ago, and he said he wants to do this and that it's going to be a thing, that you can upload your consciousness to like a mega computer and your consciousness can just keep running forever, even when you're dead. What do you think about that?
Well, getting back to Ray Kurzweil's book that I mentioned earlier, The Age of Spiritual Machines, that was one of the things he talked about. And that was one of the things that just blew my mind at the time. And I was like, wow, that is something I'd be down with. I like to push the boundaries.
3 for 3.
At the same time, I think that kind of metaphor could be taken into what life already is and what consciousness already is. I see our conscious states of being as being these kind of fractal software patterns, and physicality is a result of that as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah.
And so even
quantum
when
physics has proven that.
Right. Yeah. This is not just the be all end all. And I've experienced that through altered states that we are outside of this physicality. And so I think that fractal pattern or that software system that we call our consciousness is already embedded in the greatest supercomputer called the universe. And when we move on, it stays there. And so I don't know if we'll necessarily need to upload it, so to speak.
It's already there. We just need to hack into it.
Yeah.
What are some of the other ways that you think that the singularity and just technology in general is changing us and our language, our communication, our culture?
Oh, goodness. Let's see. Well, I think there's some interesting things, even looking at 3D printing, what it's going to do to our industrialization and how we're manufacturing products as opposed to having everything made around the world and then shipped with natural, with oil and coal and these natural resources. Why not just be able to walk down the street and have your phone 3D printed or a computer 3D printed right there? And that sounds wonderful. Bitcoin technology or the blockchain. I know a lot of people look at this and it's like, oh my gosh, it's just the underground trading and trying to be anonymous. But now all the big banks are jumping in on this, and what that blockchain technology is doing is cutting out all the inefficiencies in a system where we don't need to have a central bank running the entire thing, because when that goes, wow, everything goes. So distributing that across this entire network, I think that's going to be another big play in the future into how we understand exchange.
Should people be concerned about losing their jobs to all of this technology?
I know a lot of people probably do. I would say no, because with all these new technologies, new jobs unfold, new ways of being. Yeah. And you know what? We may not even need jobs the way that we understand that we need jobs today.
It's like the Buckminster Fuller stuff.
Right. We'll have time to do some other things, like making the world a better place.
Yeah, making art.
Just going up.
Well, it's already starting. I know Denmark has the universal income, right? So everybody gets, I think, like $2,500 a month or something just to live. And then they can just they can also work too, or they cannot. I mean, it's an interesting idea, right? Maybe the idea of a job is kind of obsolete. And what does that look like for the future?
Absolutely. Yeah. What does that look like? I'm hoping that, I think we've instead of just pure survival mode that we've evolved from, where we just had to go out and we had to make sure that we weren't going to die, but we had to get our food and, feed ourselves, and we were worried about this or that. And then we move into this industrialization where now we can, replicate things and pump them out. And there was new time that came out of that. I think the same thing will continue to happen. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think we need to worry too much about losing the jobs, the machines taking it over. Just trust that it's going to do its thing.
Yeah. And hopefully we don't end up in a, Terminator type situation. Like Google's earlier AI was like, we would just put all the humans in human zoos. And you're like, oh, no, that's not good. But hopefully that doesn't happen, right? Oh, man.
Considering I don't like going to zoos. I don't believe in them. But I think in some ways.
A human zoo?
It could be a human zoo. I don't know.
Oh, man. Well, hopefully not. But hey, man, one thing's for sure is we really don't know what's going to happen. And I think that is part of what being a futurist is all about, is that it's speculation and theories and hypotheses. But, we don't really know where things are going. So you have to live for today and do what you love, right?
Absolutely. Keep doing that. And I think that'll make all the difference in your life.
Hell yeah. Dude, Mitch Schultz, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me again. Let's not wait 2 years.
No, I know. Seriously. Don't wait another 2 years. And thank you also to everybody for tuning in to Lucid Planet Radio. I hope you enjoyed that. I definitely did. And just remember, you can tune in every week, Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Mountain, 2 p.m. Pacific. And find out more about us at thelucidplanet.com and Facebook, Twitter, Instagram me, The Lucid Planet with Dr. Kelly. And also, if you can download all our stuff on SoundCloud and iTunes and all the things. My usual disclaimer. Next week, I am welcome Stanford psychologist Dr. Susan Edelman to the show. We're going to talk about love, sex, and dating and how to get what you want in relationships. I'm into that. And relationships with people, not robots. Just to clarify, although that's a thing too. Thanks again, Mitch. Light and love, and I will talk to you all next week. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Woo.
You've been listening to the hit show, Lucid Planet Radio, with renowned psychologist and author, Dr. Kelly Neff. Tune in each week as we illuminate your senses and empower you beyond your daily stressors and hardships. This hit show will captivate you with far-reaching topics and amazing guests as you wake up to the greatest version of yourself. Learn how to navigate the global shift of consciousness as you explore the deeper knowledge, passion, and purpose within. Visit lucidplanetradio.com for upcoming show topics and to contact Dr. Kelly.